I don't do public speaking very much, so if I get kind of quiet, just wave at me, yeah? Right, so Matt very kindly asked me to come and speak about Newspeak House, which is a community development organization and venue for people who are doing technology for public good, I guess. You know, I come from a tech background. I used to run a digital agency, and at a certain point, I just got worried that the future was going to look like this, basically. You know, what this tells us is like a wonderful, thriving private sector and a sort of failing public sector, right? And so I was like, okay, I have to kind of do something about this. But I didn't know anything about anything, frankly. Certainly, you know, nothing about like this kind of universe that you guys inhabit a bit more than I do. And I had one extra useful thing, which was I had this building on Bethnal Green Road, which I turned into Newspeak House, the community space for political technologists, which looks a bit like this, and half you've been here. This is where the last one of these meetings was. And started trying to... So my first question was like, okay, I've decided I want to do something for the public good, but I have no idea where to start. I'm going to start just by looking around and see what everyone else is doing, and how I can bring my skills to help. And I think it's in a very interesting time now, because you know every single organization, whether sort of technologically related or not, is suddenly facing the fact that it needs some understanding of technology. At least, I think it does. And I think other people agree. So the first thing I did was I just sat down and thought, which are other organizations in this area who are doing work that I respect? And some of these are, the government, like the digital parts of the government, but also, other like community meetups and other organizations sort of pushing for change in like I just sat down and wrote down a list of like things I liked, basically. Well. So I put down all the political parties there because I think it's important not to ignore them, basically. Like fundamentally a lot of what we're doing is up to them, right? And I think they have to be sort of part of the equation, if not something we particularly like. And for example, if we look at what they're doing technologically and learn from it, that's probably like worthwhile, right? So I'd certainly invite them to a table, if not everyone. I'm certain, like many other people, would like to know how they're doing their campaigning, right? Because it's pretty damn good. Anyway, so I wrote down a big list of things. This is day one. And also I started around looking around for community artifacts. So basically mailing lists, conferences, Facebook groups, like any kind of like place where people discuss stuff that I felt was in scope. And the scope was quite broad, and I really just started with like, does this feel like someone trying to make the world better with technology? And I found a lot very fast. And this was like, so this is just an open document you find online. This is my mailing list. Because the last thing I wanted to do was like repeat someone else's work. And like without a lot of work, I found really a lot of these very fast. After sitting down and thinking about what I found, I kind of made a bit of a scope. And this is my rough, like, here's where I think people are doing interesting things in tech right now, which are sort of within my interest. And of course, this is basically off the top of my head. But it's helpful, like I found it really helpful to have this guide, which helped me sort of think like what's happening in each area. And I guess sort of the thing I was particularly focused on when we're talking about technology is like how do we like make decisions collectively as a country and as sort of like an individual groups? How do we, like if we have members, how do we manage to communicate with them? How do we figure out fact from fiction? Like all of these things I think, particularly in the past few weeks, have been like high on the agenda. The next thing I started to do was just I tapped into all these communities, started listening to what the things they were saying, and also, one thing I found very fast was everyone wants space. So I started hosting events. Like when people wanted to organize an event which has something to do with how can we do technology better, which is how I got the previous event in this. It was a digital strategy review. I would invite them to come, and I found it was very easy to find people who wanted to organize meetups. But that's great because it shows like there's a healthy community, and a lot of the people turning up at these are just volunteers, and then not just volunteers, but typically volunteers, but with like high value, expensive skills. So like that was really what kind of drew me to this area. It was like there's obviously people who really care about this and also can do things that are hard to do. Next, so the other part of this was I found in the different meetups would draw like very different crowds, which was very interesting. Like really quite different like people from different areas. So like you'd have one about government technology, and it would attract a lot of people who are interested in government. And that includes like not just civil servants, like all kinds of people who are sort of like observing and pushing for change in government. And then you do something about journalists, and then that would attract a whole lot of journalists, both people who are journalists, and people who are bloggers, and then people who care a lot about journalism. You know, there's like a whole bunch of these. But what I found was they didn't mix very much. So I came up with this idea of fellows around Newspeak House, and the idea of them is to go to many different kinds of events and try and build networks between different groups. I guess an underlying sort of idea of this was obviously like simple like relationship community networks are very powerful, but particularly in technology they're valuable because you can have reuse, right? People are going around building things and then they can try and reuse them, because my belief was different groups were facing a lot of the same problems. So what happened next? Another interesting thing I did was we had a concept of membership. So sort of as a funding thing, people, particularly people who wanted to organize events, but also anyone else who was interested, I would invite to become members of Newspeak House, and they would sign up on my website and start paying me £25 a month. But they would also give me their social data. Can you see this? Yeah. So we wrote a little thing which was, you know, just written in a day, which would pull in their social network, and I could see who else of the other members they knew. And now we've got about 200, I think. I can see, so for example, this is Mark Cridge. He's the founder of My Society. Anyone heard of My Society? Okay, it's probably the oldest civic tech organization in the UK. It lets you do things like email your MP and see how your MP voted. So I can see who else in the network he knows and who he doesn't know. And also, for example, Matt. Where's Matt? Matt just joined last week, and so I can see that he only knows 2 other people. So this is pretty interesting. No, this is great. This is exactly what I want to see, right? Because it's fantastic. This is someone who I think, you know, has like spreads a lot of information within like an active community, but doesn't know all of these other people, right? Which is like and this is like well, fantastic. I can add value here because I can be like, you need to meet these 10 people, and I think and ending it from different groups. And I think that would be like valuable, hopefully. And certainly, you know, what I've seen is mostly it's sparse. Like most people don't know very many people, right? I think that's true. And in this kind of case where you're really going around trying to spread like knowledge of tools that are mostly free, like that's like magical. So yeah, I mean that's basically what I've been doing. I think, you know, we've run something like 200 events in the past 18 months. We run like just a social dinner every week, which has 20 people coming, and all kinds of different meetups. And it's been pretty exciting. And I think this may be like a different approach to community development than you guys have seen before, perhaps. But I don't know. That's why I'm excited to find out. So that's that. Any questions? Yes?
Just a quick point on Matt and looking like he only has a couple of connections. Matt becomes a bridge to other networks.
Yes.
So which actually is that this is what you want to be looking for, is that you want to find that that's a potential structural hole, and that he becomes the bridge to which gives you the diversity.
Yeah.
So you don't want to have everybody connected to each other internally. You want to have bridges to all sorts of other networks.
Well, I want to find them like unconnected at first, and then make an intervention. Right.
They can build their connections internally, but you want to bring people who are not connected to a lot of people internally because they're probably not going to have the same social networks as the people inside are going to have. You want diversity.
Exactly.
So you can thank Matt.
I mean, I'm always really excited when I find someone who isn't well connected within this network, and I'm really like actively seeking out new networks, and that's really what sort of this work was, right? Like I would just find all of these just by like seeing what people were saying, and you'd find like whole new groups of people who had like time and funding and skills and were focusing on some different area, and be like, hey, wow, I didn't know you guys existed, and that just goes on and on and on. I find. And then I'm just looking at the UK. Once you start, especially with technology, the nice thing is technology spreads across countries, right? So it starts becoming a bit overwhelming, but it's exciting to really see how much like volunteer activity there is, and also like small NGO activity as well, which is just unknown because communicating is so hard and expensive. Anyway, sorry. Yes.
I was going to ask, apart from when you make connections across your social web, do you find a lot of your members and fellows also use that to connect with other people? And is that something that they actively choose to find new connections through, or do they wait for you to recommend who they should?
I mean, I don't necessarily see otherwise, is the thing. I mean, I'm really excited to, like a big piece of work now is how can we make this information more valuable?
Yeah.
You know, we have a program, or rather, I've set up a service which people can optionally subscribe to, which sort of tells them people they might want to talk to. But I find that doesn't work very well. Like, there's something quite powerful about introductions. Like, just approaching people cold, like, somehow doesn't tend to go anywhere. And I know that there's a group called Local Gov Digital, which creates something called unmentoring, which is basically lots of people sign into a network and then you just get random introductions. And I joined that a few months ago. And it's okay. I don't know. It's like, I think there's definitely a certain kind of person that works for, but I'm literally in the market to just do networking. But I think for a lot of people it wouldn't be valuable. I think there's a lot of value in like creating shared contexts, like events, and also like doing introductions personally. And that's sort of what like the fellowships as well is sort of like to create a class of people who are just making introductions.
A follow-up question: is this document with all the really helpful links published online?
Yep.
Send us a link.
Yeah, sure. There's a link at the top. But yeah, I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ed, how do you avoid being very London-centric?
I'm London-centric.
Oh, well, I know you are, but is that a limitation of what you're doing? I mean, is it? Do you just accept that as a limitation, or I speak as somebody who doesn't live in London, and therefore I love your network and the concept of your network, but I feel like I can't really make the most out of it because I'm not in London.
I mean, I would say like all of the like a lot of the stuff is online. Like all of these are mailing lists, right? So they're online,
Sure.
And you know this is a public open document. Obviously, you know there's only one place I can run events, and like it's useful. I mean, the attitude I try to take is like I have a useful asset, which is I can host events, but I don't really care if they're here or somewhere else. It just means that I can give people space if they need it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, in a sense, like do I care if things are in the UK? Like, you know, you need to have some kind of scope. But yeah, I mean, totally. That's real. You know, that's true. I don't really have.
I'm not criticising.
No. I totally recognise I'm basically London-centric.
Yeah,
but the bonus of London is we have both the tech centre and the politics centre and journalism and like a lot of NGO activity is concentrated here. But you know, I do what I can to do like online things, and we often like stream events and things like that. Yes.
Just wondered, I know we're going to talk about the value-based networking later, but do you find people, the potential connectors, potential people who want to connect to that network, do you think they probably do their own value-based analysis of how that network will be valuable to them before they actually join? And do you get feedback about that at all? In terms of how they find the network valuable to their needs, to their community needs, to their social needs, and they need to sort of connect to that?
I'm afraid I didn't catch that talk, so I don't know the details. But I mean, what I do know is lots of different. I mean, like what's fantastic when you start doing like network work is you really see different people come here for different things. You know, and you have funders who are going, we need to spend our money somehow, and we don't know how. And we have like people desperate for funding, and we have people saying, I'm really skilled, and I just want a hobby, you know, helping someone, and can someone please tell me, you know, something to do with my free time? And it's amazing once you start seeing this diversity, like how much value. Like, but different people like understand the value of a network very differently, which is interesting. I don't know if that answers your question, but you know.
I just wondered whether you get. I suppose you probably get feedback from those who joined the network about how valuable they found the network and how potentially they could extend that. I mean, I'm thinking in terms of the diversity of the network and actually increasing that reach to different types of people, basically, if you like, you know, and whether different people from different types of backgrounds, etc., would actually find it valuable to their needs. So it's not kind of like a one-size-fits-all type of place.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly like. I think a downside of this is I'm really catching people who are relatively activated already. You know, they're sort of they come forward as volunteers or have like joined some list where you know where it's like I would like to do something in this space. So it's a lot of it is practitioners, but I don't know. You've got to start somewhere. Yeah.
I'd love to know what kind of guidance you give to these fellows you've got, or what kind of support you give them, because they sound a bit like, you know, connectors, weavers, and I'm just interested to know, do you have like a role description or just informally set them up and talk to them, or how do you?
It's something I'm really working on right now, actually. Like my main task is now is trying to design, like I'm trying to launch this as a more sort of formal fellowship program with like open applications and more like defined obligations. and it's difficult because you kind of want a diversity, and people have different communicating styles. The thing I tell them is like, please go to as many events as you can cope with, and also sort of be active online and just like let a lot of information pass by your eyes and then try and act on it. And that's definitely a certain kind of person. But beyond that, like it's been an interesting learning, like how to sort of manage a group of fellows. That's something I'm really hoping to like get better at this year.
Are the main kind of characteristics of them sociability or openness or curiosity? Is there anything you notice in all the fellows that other people don't have? What?
Well, I mean, I think so. Certainly, I would say that not all like fellows have been happy and successful. Like I think it hasn't worked out for all of them certainly, and they've come in to do this and decided they don't like it. But being sociable. I mean, the big thing is like people who feel like it's worth meeting people for its own sake. Has been sort of like a bit, and people kind of derive value from just knowing people, and there's certain kind of people who do that, who go to an event just to see what's there, and other people who think, what's in this for me, and I think that's like a big part of it. And the best way I think to find out is the kind of person who's already organising events has always been the best marker for me. Like if you're already organising a meetup, I can come and say, come and live here, go to more meetups, and you'll have a space to run yours. That's the best marker I've found. Did you have a question? No. Someone did. Yeah.
I'm planning on setting up a London chapter of Open IDEO.
Cool.
Which, for people that don't know, it's an open innovation platform that you can do online, but there are chapters in about 22 cities around the world, none in London. It sounds like there could be scope for collaboration, since it's event-based and open, and there's a lot of sort of commonalities.
Yeah, definitely get in touch. I'll give you a card. Are we? Yeah.
I saw you have a membership, like a paid membership. Does that look like it could be sustainable long term, or are you looking at other ways of income?
It's a good question. So right now we're mostly the event space runs as a self-sustaining business. So all the events happen sort of on the side. Membership is growing. I'm not sort of militant about. Like mostly, I approach people who I think should be members because they have some kind of community role, and I'll say like, "Would you like to be a member?" And if they can afford it, they'll pay for it. And if they can't, I'll live. I think probably if I keep going as I am now, I'll be fully self-sustaining from membership in 2 years, which is I think it's pretty good. But I haven't even really started thinking about funding yet. So because it's this is all built off the side of a self-sustaining business, so it's worked quite well. Yeah.
I'm intrigued as to the sort of services that you get for subscription. I've got a colleague who runs a space down in Greenwich, and he runs a subscription model also, and he has an AV suite and he has coding workstations, etc. Nothing tremendous, but just some space for people to do things in, and also access to. He's a wireless network builder, so he's created these services for people to hook into and pay subs for, and I'm getting a sense that you've got an event meeting place, but I don't know what a subscriber would get for that.
So what I tell people is the reason why you subscribe is to support the community development project. I run 10 events a month, and the reason why you're subscribing is to make sure that keeps happening. Pretty much. I really didn't want people to think of it as a transactional way, because I think that kind of, I don't want people joining so they can use the space, right? That kind of isn't the purpose of the project. But, it's tempting. It's certainly been tempting to think about trying to do co-working, and there's various other models, but I think, I'm lucky that I don't have to kind of rush for growth in that particular dimension. It's more about getting committed community members who, the nice thing, if you get people who are paying something, they value it more, and they want to get more out of it. Yeah.
You're in Tower Hamlets. How many Tower Hamlets residents use your facilities at the moment?
Don't know.
Is that a target group that you'd like to encourage?
Not especially. I was more looking at people. I'm really trying to focus on practitioners working in the city, I guess. So it's not I haven't really been looking at geographical things, but I guess I could.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
that good?
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. I mean, that seems to me a definite cooperative giving out